Viscount's choirmaster is a remarkably versatile choir or congregation accompaniment device, which can be connected to a MIDI-controlled organ or a suitable MIDI-compatible sound generator. It's essentially a standalone sequencer that stores a large library of songs, tunes, or hymns whose playback can be controlled by a conductor so as to follow the intended tempo or lyric progression. You can do things like change the organ registration, give notes to the choir, modify the volume, skip verses, and display the words of hymns or songs on an external monitor. It's much more useful than simply playing recordings of accompaniments for services or choir performances, because the playback is versatile and can be under the control of a music director who doesn't need to be a skilled organist. It controls the organ directly, so the results will have the same sound quality as when an organist plays. It's also integrated with a means of displaying the words in sync with the music. As choirmaster is aimed principally at church contexts, there are libraries of hymns, chants and songs based on hymn books for countries such as the UK, Italy, Korea, the Netherlands and Germany, and the hymn numbers even correspond. The English one comes from Anglican Hymns Old and New, for example. Here in Chalgrove with our choir, I've got a popular hymn already loaded from the library, Sweet Sacrament Divine, whose tempo can be pulled around a bit when singing. I'll conduct the choir while tapping out the tempo on the beat button, and you'll see how the accompaniment follows as I shamelessly pull the speed around. We start with a short intro that I can pull up before the verse starts. Alternatively, you or an assistant can step through the song note by note using the note button, which can be useful for controlling a detailed rallentando or for chants that don't have a defined beat structure. Sweet Sacrament Divine. If you want both hands free, you can connect a foot switch to control the tempo instead. An alternative to either of these is simply to play the hymn at a fixed tempo and use the slow and fast buttons to adjust the accompaniment speed. So I press the slow button, you'll see that the number of beats per minute just drops. And if I press the fast button, you'll see that it increases and the percentage of full speed is shown as higher. At the top of the device, there are 16 quick selection buttons that can be used to recall specific songs. There are 4 banks of these, so you can have 64 songs on relatively quick demand. And the rest have to be loaded from the filing system, which can be either in the internal memory or on a USB stick. So on 1 here, I've got Abide With Me. And on 5, I've got a Kyrie eleison of sorts. And on 9, I've got All People That On Earth Do Dwell. Once you've loaded a song, the main display shows the song number and title at the top of the display here, the time signature and tempo in the middle, and the indication of the bar and beat, and the current percentage of normal speed just here. Below that, there's an indication of the organ's registration, showing the current level and the stop groups currently active. This display can also show more details of the current song. So if I press enter, you get more details about the lyrics and who composed it and so forth. And if I press exit and then plus, you get a more detailed music display. One rather neat feature is the ability to search for hymns by playing a few notes on the song structure keys, which double as a keyboard. So if I press song followed by keyboard, then I can enter the first few notes of the hymn, O Worship the King, for example, and then press enter, and up it pops on the display along with other hymns that start with the same note pattern. And if I press enter, it'll load it and I can simply play it. In song playing mode, the song structure buttons have LEDs that light up to show the active verses of the current song. The currently playing verse has a blinking LED. So that was the intro, and you can mute a verse by pressing its verse button. That makes it possible to dynamically skip verses if the situation requires it. And you can jump to another verse by holding down the verse number. So I'll jump to verse 3 there by holding down number 3. And there are also buttons for the intro and the ending if they exist in the song. When in the keyboard mode, these buttons act as the keys of an organ, and the LEDs light to show the notes of the key chord with the red at its root. So I can give notes to the choir using these keys, and the button on the left acts as an octave transposer down, and the one on the right acts as an octave transposer up. While we're on the subject of transposition, I can use the transpose button to transpose the hymn up or down by a number of semitones. So we'll try the start of verse 1 of Sweet Sacrament Divine up a semitone as an example.
Sweet Sacrament Divine, healing thy earthly home.
The dim and crescendo buttons enable me to change the attached organ's registration, if it's a Viscount, by bringing on or taking off stops. Songs can either be stored with preset registration levels like divisional pistons for different verses, or you can choose specific stops or combinations. So for example, we could start a verse of our hymn on the preset registration, but take it up a notch in the middle and down a notch at the end. Those functions can be assigned to foot pedals if you need to free up your hands. The lyrics button allows you to see the lyrics of the current song if they've been stored. So we'll skip to verse 1, and then if I play the hymn, you can see that it moves along as I play the song. If an external display is connected, then the lyrics will appear there too. By holding down the lyrics button, you can choose how they're displayed internally and externally. I'm not going to show you all the options here, but you can do things like putting syllables in brackets, removing hyphens, and changing the way melismas are displayed. There are sockets on the back for 2 foot switches or expression pedals. The functions of these can be configured from the Setup menu to include playback advance controls equivalent to the note or beat buttons, and other functions such as organ registration changes or overall volume. Choirmaster can automatically detect what sort of pedal is connected in many cases. 2 forms of external display can be connected to Choirmaster. An external video monitor can be used to display the lyrics to the congregation, and the optional Annunciator panel can display the current hymn number, a bit like a hymn board. This panel can even be connected wirelessly if necessary. You can change the MIDI channels corresponding to different divisions of the connected organ if necessary, so you can see pedal, grate, swell, choir, and so forth. And there's a standard setup for Viscount organs, but you may need to change it for other instruments. There's also a recording function that enables you to record your own songs from a keyboard or organ connected to the MIDI in. The functions of this operate in a very similar way to the internal recording sequencer on Viscount's organs, which I've explained already in one of our Physis Explained videos, so I won't cover it further here. All in all, you can see that Viscount's Choirmaster offers a unique solution to the problem of accompanying your choir rehearsals or services when there's no organist around, but you have a MIDI controllable organ, such as those offered by Viscount. It's also a good tool for organists to use when they want to conduct their choir, rather than sit at the console, perhaps during a communion motet.